Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the EnerShe Podcast, where we have conversations, never competition. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the EnerShe Podcast, where we have real conversations, never competition. I'm your host, Adriana K. Granland, joined by our amazing co-host, Crystal Fina, and of course, Karen Shirley. Spirit fingers. Love that for us. Today, we are diving into the conversation that is deeply personal, beautiful, and of course, complex. Oftentimes misunderstood, motherhood and stepmotherhood. Whether you are raising children you gave birth to, helping raise children you didn't, navigating a blended family, or finding your way through the many roles caregiving requires, this conversation is most definitely for you. Our hope today is to create a space for honesty, reflection, and connection as we explore the realities, challenges, and of course, joys, lessons that come from loving and raising children. So let's get started, shall we, ladies? Love it. I'm here for it. So let's dive in. First question. Ladies, when you imagine becoming a mother or like a stepmother, what did you think it would look like? And how different is it from your reality today?
Well,
Oh,
it's really hard so when I think about that question, because when I had kids, it was in such different stages of my life, each one, and
mm,
different lifetimes, if that even makes sense. I know it makes sense. But,
it, it does.
so
Feels like lifetimes per child, doesn't it?
my expectations were different for each one,
Uh-huh.
and, because one, I was different, my lifestyle was different, who I was with was different,
Huh?
and my reality was different.
Yeah,
So and how I mothered was different,
for sure, for sure.
and
Yeah.
how I took care of the baby was different. I mean, the first time I had my oldest daughter, I was 24 when I gave birth to her.
Mm-hmm.
No, I was 23. 23.
How old am I?
How old am I? Oh my gosh. Well, she's 22, right? My first kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I had
Gosh,
no clue what
already?
I was
Dang.
doing, and I was scared. I was a young mom. And that looked totally different from when I had my middle daughter at age 8.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I already knew what I was doing, and so it just felt really different, and, it didn't feel foreign, and I knew exactly what to do, and then when I had my 3rd daughter at 34, that was completely different.
Oh, yeah.
That was a whole different that changed the trajectory of my life.
Yeah.
So,
Serious.
yeah.
That's so wild, isn't it? I feel like with my first two, I had my very first son at my oldest son at 18. And then I had my daughter at 20. And I had my youngest, my third baby at 32. 32? Yeah, 30. That's so interesting how we forget. How old was I? Was I 32? I want to say, yeah. And the crazy part to me is that when with my older two, I feel like I grew up with them. I was still a baby myself. When I look at my kids today who are now 28 and 26, there's no way they're ready to have kids. You know what I'm saying? And there I was at 18 and 20 having them and raising them. And which makes a lot of sense as to, not that it's an excuse, as to why I drug them through so many different things that I drug them through. Right. And it's because I was not yet grown up. Okay. And the way that I am with my youngest, who's now 14, is totally different. The way that I parent him, the way that I'm in his business or not in his business, and the way that I feed him or the way I interact with him, I just feel like I can be a mom now and not like a sibling, you know? which feels really unfair to my older 2 kids, and I have to that's my truth, and I feel like it was a bit unfair to them. Not a bit, a lot unfair. Let me just keep that real, right? They got drugged through my addictions, they got drugged through poor relationship choice after poor relationship choice, me trying to find myself. They got drugged through all of that, and as parent as a mom now to my children, trying to help them even navigate in adulthood, right? And teenagerhood looks different. I'm glad that I can be there to support them, but I'm like, damn, what was I doing in my 20s? Trying to be a mom. I had no idea what I was doing. I fumbled it big time, and I can't undo it and I can't change it. And I always thought that I would be like motherhood to me when I was a kid and I had it idealized in my mind. I was going to be like that 1950s, like, I've baked you cookies after school, children. Oh, are we doing homework and dinner is freshly cooked? Right? Like, I always thought I would be that mom, but the truth is, I was just like, did you guys eat? Are you going to eat your dinner at all? I'm like, it's pizza again. Are we good? It's cereal for dinner. It's fine. You'll be fine. Homework, parent teacher conference. Like, why are they jamming me up? I'm out of school. You know what I mean? That's how that looks like, just trying to figure it out. Yeah. What
Yeah,
about you?
I never thought that I would be a step parent. I always I always wanted kids. And I had this idea that I think when I was younger, I was really athletic. I played a lot of sports. And so I think I always pictured me having like that sporty kid where I would like, you know, teen mom, that whole, you know, vibe.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it just wasn't in it wasn't in my journey. It wasn't that I physically couldn't have kids. It's, I met my wife and I was 29
Hmm.
and we wanted kids. We talked about having more kids. And then she started getting sick. And then it was kind of like a choice at that point of, do we want to bring like another kid into this world? Do we want to put all our energy into the current kid we have? And then, like financially speaking, be able to take care of what we have, I think
Yeah.
that's kind of like the double-edged sword of being a lesbian is like, you get to plan, because you have to kind of think about it, but then also like you could get stuck planning, right? Stuck
Mhm.
thinking about it. Um, and so yeah, I grieved it for a really long time. Like I really had to like grieve not having my own kids.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
just because you have this expectation of what your life's going to be like. Um, but on the flip side of that, I'm really lucky that I have an amazing stepkid, and she's like my best friend now. you know, uh,
Aw.
she's 19; she'll be 20 in September.
Mhm.
And so I came into the picture when she was 6, and so yeah, it wasn't like it was difficult. I
Yeah.
didn't, like I said, I never thought about being a step parent. And so my wife definitely taught me a lot of how to parent Maddie, not just how to parent, right? Because you're parenting to each kid. Each kid is different. And
Yes.
so yeah, I had to go. I went from the hammer. They used to call me the hammer because I was like, um, to now like, yeah, just being like mom.
Yeah.
I remember the
Right?
first
Just
time she
cool.
called me mom in front of her friends, and I was like, totally started crying in the car. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's so
it was pretty cute.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Crystal, that is so powerful and so wonderful. And I'm curious, like, how how out of both of you, did you ever think that you were gonna be like the cool mom? From like what was that show? What was it, Mean Girls? Where the mom comes in and she's like, "Hi, I just want to be the cool mom. What are you girls doing?" She's like, "Do you guys want a drink? Do you guys want like what was that on Mean Girls?" Right?
Check it out, check
Wild.
it out. I just watched that again. I had to turn up my volume, but I just had to watch that I watched that with Sky,
Did you
the original
really?
Mean Girls, but she ended up falling asleep, but I had to finish it out because it's been years since I watched it.
Great
And
movie.
that mom cracked me up coming in, and then the main character was talking like shit to her mom. I was like, oh hell no. But
Yeah.
honestly, being the cool mom, I mean, there's levels of coolness, right?
Mm-hmm. For
Because
sure.
in my like head of being the cool mom back in the day when I was a teenager, right? My friends' cool moms were the ones where we were able to like smoke pot and
Yeah.
drink at
Mm-hmm.
their house.
Yeah.
You know, they were the cool parents, right?
Yeah. For
That
sure.
that shit ain't going down in my house.
Absolutely the
You're
fuck
you're
not.
tripping, right? However, however, funny as shit,
Yes, you are. You are
you
funny
know,
as shit.
and I crack my kids up, and I feel like I am a cool mom because they can come to me. At least my oldest does. I want to say my oldest does, and but they can come to me and like tell me anything, and I'm not gonna like get mad at them. I'm gonna praise them for actually coming to me and find a solution and deal with it head on. The only
Yeah.
time I get angry, per se, is when you straight up lie to me about something and then I find out about it later. You know, like if I have like a hunch that you're doing something and I'm asking you point blank, "Are you doing this? Is this occurring?" And you say, "Oh no, mom, it's not." And then I
Mhm.
go away on vacation and your sister catches you in the act.
Oops. I swear I'm not, right? Oh, it's the best. Right? And then caught red-handed. Just saying.
What am I gonna
Literally.
do?
You
But
know?
I laugh. I laugh because I already knew, but I'm
Mhm.
pissed because you lie to me,
Yep,
type of stuff,
for sure.
but in the reality of it, because I think in the time that we grew up, that I grew up, is that life is going to happen, and I would rather educate my kids on the reality of life and put in safeguards and solutions and to keep them safe
Yeah.
rather than punish and, shame or guilt or any of that bullshit that goes along with it.
Mhm.
If you're having sex, let's go to the doctor, get you on birth control. Let's keep you
Right.
safe. Because guess what? Sex makes the world go around. You're going to do it anyway. I'm
Yeah.
not condoning it, but come
Right.
on, right? If you find yourself in a situation to where you don't feel safe and you end up, experimenting on something
Mhm.
and you need to get saved, don't think I'm going to get pissed. You need to call me so I can come rescue your ass,
Yeah.
you know, because that's
Yeah.
more important than you being afraid that you're in trouble.
Right.
You
Absolutely.
know what I mean? I mean, y-
I do know what you mean.
you're going to get it, but you're not going to like get it,
Yeah.
because
But you're gonna get it
more,
because I have to talk to you
yeah,
about
because it's more
what you
important
did,
that you're safe and alive.
right? Oh,
Yeah,
for sure.
you gotta get that lecture.
Yeah. We have to. We would not be doing our due diligence as parents if we did not give you the parental lecture, right? Like, for instance, my daughter, she got her car towed, right? Second time in a year. I was like, Jesus, right? So I go to pick her up. We're going to go pick up this car. Like, I don't want to give her, and I literally get her in the car and I'm like, I don't want to give you too much shit because I know that nobody's beating you up more than you right now. But I have a feeling that I know how this happened. And it's because you said to yourself, I, I'll only be in there for a few minutes. So then we, right. And it won't be a big deal. And I was like, and in fact, it was a $600 big deal.
Oh,
Do you know what I'm saying? And I said, and she goes, I know, mom. I was like, you're gonna hear it from me. I'm driving. I'm taking time out of my morning, out of my day to have to come take you down here to go do this. Right. And I said, and so as your mom, you're going to hear me. I have to talk to you about this. Why? Because you thought I knew. And then I get the picture back of where they picked up the car and I open it and I look at it and and I literally was like, pointing at it. I was like, see, I knew it. I knew that's what you did. You parked in front of a hydrant and you said, and she goes, Mom, I was only going to be in there for a few minutes. And I said, and I knew that's what you were thinking, and I was like, and you cannot think like that. It was like those kinds of thoughts, it'll only like will cost you clearly $600. And the time before that, because you were out of town, it cost us $800. And then, and here as a mom, am I grateful that my kid can call me today and ask me for help and support and know that I can pay for that if need be. And then, of course, she's going to pay me back. You know what I mean? Of course. And she did, of course, right? But the reality is that I can be there for her today in
Yeah.
that way because there was a time when I couldn't be there for her in that way. I couldn't show up or wouldn't have had that money. That money would have been smoked up, doped up, right? Or caught up some in cigarettes and everything else and dope. So I'm grateful that I could show up for my kids in that way and they know they can call me and rely on me. So that does make me feel good, but I'm gonna give you the talking too. Yeah, it's
This is funny
solid.
that you shared that because my oldest daughter, she told me that I don't know if it was a gummy or a brownie, but she ate something and it was too much for her. And and she
Like a true car.
it flipped her out. She had a very bad trip to where her friends had to put her in the shower and put cold water on her, and she said it scared her so bad that she really wanted to call me, but she thought I was gonna get so angry at her and all the things, and as she's explaining this whole bad trip, I'm just sitting here cracking up at her. She's like, "Why are you laughing?" And I said, "Because it's funny." It's
Yeah.
hilarious to me. I'm like, "Why wouldn't you call me?" And she's all, "I thought you'd be
Yes.
mad." I'm like, "No, I wouldn't be mad." And so that's where that whole conversation came from. I said, "If you're ever in a situation where you're scared because you did something or whatever, you
You
always
call me.
call me."
Yep.
I would never get angry because, you made a mistake. You're young, you're gonna experiment with things. I mean, as your mom, don't,
Yeah.
but in reality,
Not condoning that shit, but
I know that you are. But you know what? You just learned a lesson all by yourself,
yeah,
you know? Now you
right?
don't ever wanna do it again. So,
Solid. For
that's
the
I think
win.
that's like I think that's what I've learned is like in parenting, it's like your kids are gonna you learn all these lessons in life and you like think it's going to waste because you want to share that with your kids and be like, don't do this. I did it. I know what's going to happen. But then you have to understand that like they're going to do whatever they're going to want to do because that's their journey and that's their path. And our responsibility is to be there with like softness and safeness and love and be like, okay, how are we gonna like help you through this now? Let's talk about it. Like it's not
Yeah.
to because I think in my early parenting, I was like very like, no, don't do that
Punitive.
because this is gonna happen. And now I'm just like,
Punitive, right?
yeah.
Which is
Hmm.
like, and honestly, all of this comes from love when you have a parent who's like you were saying, like very like punitive, and it's like everything's black and white, and I need you to understand that I've been through this. I don't want you to go down this road, and it comes from a place of fear, which ultimately comes from a place of love, because I don't want you to hurt yourself. I don't want you to put yourself in harm's way and I want to protect you. So it all comes from a place of love. But as we get older, we realize, well, why don't I just love you then? And I can tell you that that created fear within me. Right. And I feel like I've really learned that a lot just this year. My son was after school and he didn't still, after school was waiting for me. Normally I would go pick him up and he was hanging out after school without permission. School had got out early and I was unaware because normally they send text messages out and they didn't. So he was hanging out after school for like a few hours. And I remember calling Karen and I was like furious. I was so mad because I was so worried that he was around hanging out at school and hanging out with whom and there's adult teachers there. Nowadays you can't trust an adult anything around your kid. You know what I mean? We see it on the news all the time, unfortunately, and we work in the fields where we have access to more information than other people usually do around adults and how they behave and things like that. And so I was just pissed. And so I called Karen and I'm trying to regulate. And she goes, I understand why you're upset. And I was like, I'm so effing mad and I'm pissed off. And she goes, it's because you love him. And it's because you were scared. And I was like, yeah, that's why I was so mad, that he did this. And pick him up and I'm like crying and I'm upset. And he's like, Mom, I'm okay and I'm safe. And I'm like, it's not the point. The point is I'm trying to keep you safe. And in that moment, I felt like you were working against me. Do you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, and I'm on your side and on your team. And when you do things like that, I feel like you're working against me. And it creates fear in me because I love you so much. I want to protect you. Right. And so I need you to understand
Yeah.
that if my job is to help keep you safe and guide you in the right direction, then I need you to understand. And so I can, I need you to obey, right? Essentially, when I ask you to do something. And it's not because I'm doing it to be mean. I'm doing it to protect you, right? And that's where obey comes from. Like I do it to love you and protect you. So when I was able to have that conversation with my best friend and like let my guard down, and she was like, tell him that it scared you. Tell him that, and so I could be vulnerable with my kid and say, I was scared. That's what that scared me. So please don't do that again. So those are honest, open conversations that we can have with our kids and come from a place of love and not, and like, I want to protect you and I want to help keep you safe. And I need you to do that because I love you. And I want you to love yourself enough to keep yourself safe instead of being like, you know?
And see, did you guys were you able to have those conversations with your mom? Because like, yeah,
Oh,
it's
no
like
way.
looking at like how our moms were and how we were raised by mothers. Like, what did you bring from that into your parenting, or what did you leave behind, or what? How are you different? Loaded
I work.
question.
I try really hard not to shame my kids or guilt them
Mm-hmm.
because shame got me loaded, guilt got me loaded, all those things. Right? And so I try to come from a place, and I'm not like 100. I'll really try to come from a patient, understanding, supportive place with my kids, and uh, allow them to make their own choices, as long as they're within reason, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and not try to dictate what their future is going to be. Let them have control over their choices on who they want to be and how they can be.
Mm.
I try to meet each kid where they're at. They're all so different, and I don't intentionally compare them to one another. You know,
That's important.
so but they trip me out because they are all so different. So I have to like evaluate or like, because I'm pretty much done parenting my oldest. She's an adult and she does her own thing. In fact, she tries to turn around and parent me a lot. Find
Right.
her spitting things at me that I used to spit at her, or she'll like say recovery things to me that come from my mouth. I'm just like, tell me, don't be hurt,
Oh, my
Oh,
baby.
oh, I know, so cute. And then, how I parent my middle daughter and my younger daughter are two complete polar opposite. I think I just veered off on a tangent there from your original question.
It's all
No.
good.
Ooh, phew. But yeah, I don't know, autonomy.
Hmm. That's
I,
good. That's real good.
I
You know
think
what I
that
mean?
just goes down to that one word,
Autonomy. You
autonomy.
know, I think for me, and that's a really good point. Comparison. I don't compare my kids to one another. I love each of them individually, just as they are for who they are, and I celebrate their differences. As a matter of fact. And because I hated comparison when I was a kid, it was like that was to me the worst. One of the worst things. Another thing, like you said, is I don't shame my kids. So anytime my kids come to me with anything, And I let them know that they can, right? And I don't want them to be afraid to come to me when they need help or if they need guidance or 20 bucks for gas or and to be like, "Oh, I can't ask mom or I got to ask everybody else." No, I want you to always ask me first. Always, because I will be that for you. I can be your help. That's what I'm placed on this earth is to be your help, right? Now, am I going to question, like, did you spend that on cigarettes? Because if you had money for cigarettes, you had money for gas, boo. Like, can we be real? Right? But I'm still going to give it to you. And I'm just going to ask you to make sure that you're budgeting I'm going to be, and give you the mom talk. Make sure you're budgeting your money. Make sure that you're not overspending in places that you don't need to spend. Am I going to ask you for that back? Fuck no. No. Why? Because I remember what it's like to be in my 20s. I remember what it was like to be living on macaroni and cheese and freaking toilet paper, right? And needing toilet paper, and grateful to have that. So my kids can ask me for literally anything. And that is how I differ in my parenting style. And I don't shame my kids for having life happen to them or going through life. But I will have conversations with them about it, you know? That's how I feel like I differ in parenthood. My
Yeah, I think I I don't want to say I had my mom like on a pedestal when I was in my 20s, but I definitely was when I started parenting was like wanted to do it the same way because I didn't want to accept or acknowledge the wrong things that had been done at that point in my life. I
Mhm,
was still like working through some things. And so I think that's why I was so very um black and white with things. My mom she she wasn't super attentive or aware in my early like between the ages of like 3 and 10 probably. She was on
mhm,
a lot of drugs, like medications. Um, so I think I just thought like, oh, as long as there's order and as
mhm,
long as I'm in control of the order, then everyone will be safe, right? And so I think that didn't necessarily stem from my mom, but it stemmed from how I survived childhood, right? Like how I got through like into adulthood, that control coming out of wanting to feel safe when I was in control of
mhm.
things. And so then I began controlling, wanting to control this child. Right. And so
Mm,
that was something that I had to learn real quick.
yeah,
um, how to, stuff helped me kind of work through that and, going through and working and seeing where it was coming from and all that kind of thing. Um,
mhm,
but I do know that like we said, I've always wanted to like that it all underlies with love and like wanting to provide safety, right? Because like not being heard and not being feeling safe as a kid is something you like don't want to pass down,
mhm,
you know.
for sure.
Um, but yeah,
Actually, that's a really good point to lead us into the next question that I have for you ladies, because we have childhood trauma and wounds, right, that can manifest themselves in our adulthood and in our motherhood, right? So what would you say are some of your childhood or trauma or wounds, unmet needs even, that started to surface for you after becoming a mom or a stepmom?
I had a lot, all of them, all everything. I actually, I think we are going to talk about this too, like apologizing to our kids, right? I just recently apologized to my daughter because I realized in therapy that like I came in when she was 6, and that's a lot of when like the sexual childhood trauma started happening for me as a kid. And
Mhm,
so realizing that I was trying to be in control because I was worried about her safety and like her being in situations that I was in, even though her life was very different than mine, right? I think is why, like, one time she shut the door and fell asleep and locked it. And I took the door, like the handle off the door and was like, you don't get a door handle anymore.
yeah,
And I put a sock in the door handle on it. And so realizing that like the lack of privacy and boundaries was like stemming from my own trauma because I
Mhm.
wanted to always know what she was doing.
Oh, yeah.
And so I told her that, like last like this year recently was like, I just want to apologize because I realized like that was a me thing, not a you thing, and you were just a kid. And I should have. I'm sorry I wasn't more aware then, but I am now. And so
Wow.
you know better, you do better kind of thing. But
Absolutely.
yeah, there was a lot around that age that I think I didn't realize until later in life.
For sure. Yeah. Thank you, Crystal. What about you, Karen? Anything surface? Spill it, sister.
After I had my second daughter out of nowhere, that I would freak out when they would sit on, men's laps. I would have a physical reaction, and I couldn't have them sit on guys' laps. Um, and I was with an ex-husband, my middle daughter's dad, um, at the time, and, I don't know, for some reason, I couldn't it freaked me out. I didn't understand why. Um, but, it was okay if they sat on my dad's lap, but, for, like, everybody else or even on my husband's lap, that was fine, but, everybody else, no, like, it was just like, "Get off her lap, get off her lap." I would, like, get this insane bodily reaction, and it wasn't until I had a feeling where it came from, but it wasn't till, somebody reached out to me that, some acts were done with me and her simultaneously with a family member of mine that had been deceased now for 6 years, maybe 5, 6 years. Um, and those acts were done when I was extremely little, and, she she, like, wanted to talk about she wanted, like, closure and or connection or whatever, And, what she remembered had a direct connection to being on laps and things of that
Mhm.
nature.
Wow.
And that, like, just
Yeah. Opened it
and she's a
wide.
little bit older than me, so her recollection of that, because I remember other things that happened later,
Mhm.
but not that little, but she does, right? But my body remembered it.
Yeah.
Somewhere my subconscious remembered it,
Yeah. Absolutely.
and so I just found that fascinating. I just got goosebumps. But, so that was fascinating. So that popped up for me. And then the
Mhm.
other that still continues to affect me is, when my kids go into full-blown, like, tantrums,
Mhm.
like, screaming tantrums. I, and I'm not sure, but, I have a hard time I, like, have to disconnect, and I don't it's just the way so I don't react, or if it's because, like, I walked on eggshells growing up, or, like, I was always told to keep the peace, or I feel like my feelings were suppressed, or I mean, I'm not really sure what that's about, but it does something, so I feel like I have to disconnect in that,
Totally.
and so I'm still, like,
Working through that.
filtering through
Yeah.
that part of it.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, for years, I was always told not to react or to, you know, don't that's your sister. You can't get upset with her or that, you have to, behave yourself, right? Don't act like that. And it's like, but I'm upset. This bothers me, right? Or, my sister would hit me. Don't you hit her back. My sisters would do really crazy, horrible things to me, and I was told not to. fight back or else I would be a bad girl. Right. And so, um, in that, what that taught me was to not react or fight back or stand up for myself. And so, how I flip that with my kids, if they get in a fight at school, I ask them, did you start it? No? Good. Did you finish it? Great. And then I'll take you out to ice cream if you fought that kid back, right? Why? Because I want to teach you to stand up for yourself. And when the school calls me, I will 100% stand up for you and say, you know what? You're not going to tell my kid not to defend themselves. That's not what we're teaching our kids. Well, we don't encourage fighting. Okay, but did he start it? No? Okay, then you don't tell my kid not to defend himself, right? And what I learned was and I learned that a really hard way was with my oldest son who was bullied in his, kindergarten, second grade really badly. And I would go to the school and I was listening to what my mother was telling me, which was, you know, tell him not to fight back. You listen to the teachers, you tell him to, don't fight back, that he's supposed to follow rules. And I'm taking her advice, and my son is nothing's being done at the school, nothing's happening. And I'm getting upset because my kid is coming home like frustrated, upset, feeling sad. And I feel like I can't protect him until one day I go down to the school and I literally walked into that classroom and I was like, point him out. And then I get ejected from the school because at that point I'm just frustrated. And so I handled that, I would say, the completely wrong way. And it taught me to do it different. And at that point, I realized I need to be the mom for my kid and I need to do in my heart what I feel is right and not what I've always been taught to do. How it also manifested for me was that I yell. I'm a yeller because I was yelled at. And I've had to learn how to not do that at my
Mhm.
kid and at my partners, because as much as I want to yell like you, Karen, I have to almost shut it down. I have to not, because everything in me, my natural reaction is to do what I've seen my whole life, which is to yell and let you have it. And it doesn't feel good. Right. And so I intentionally shut that part of me down. And one more way that I would see that my trauma manifested, just in unmet needs, were just not feeling heard or seen, like we were talking about earlier. Um, and that manifested in a 23-year drug addiction, right? Now, have I forgiven my mom? Have you forgiven your mom? Have you forgiven your mom? Your moms? Most definitely, right? Like we've been able to forgive and heal these things. And as we talk about them, we're not talking about them to perpetuate our bullshit, right? We're talking about them because we have all dealt with them and are actively working to heal them. And we hope that this reaches our audience and so that you understand that you're not alone. And if you have been through it or going through it, um, uh, you're in the right place and you're not alone, right? And that yeah, we all go through stuff. You know what I'm saying? So what would you guys say are some of the things that you've held on to or you're willing to let go of right now that have helped you in mother?
I feel very lucky that I'm 42 with a 19-year-old, right?
Yeah,
Like
first easy.
You're 42 and
or
you're what?
with a 19-year-old, you know, I'm not I have friends that are just having babies right now, and I'm like,
Whoa.
nah,
You
no.
wildin'.
I do feel like I'm in a better place than I was when I was 30, right? So like if I had a 6-year-old now, it'd probably be very different than when I was 30, like you guys said. But um now it's fun to like watch them be
Mm.
adults,
Oh yeah,
like it's kind of more fun. It's like this is like the funnest it's been for me, honestly.
that's awesome.
uh, and again, it's because we're lucky and she's a great kid and she's responsible and all of the things that you want. But
Totally.
um yeah, I don't. So like the what I'm holding on to now, it's kind of, I think, not worrying about her, because I think my mom worried herself sick of me, which I gave her reason to. I was homeless in LA, like
Yeah.
of course she was
Oof.
worried about me.
Ugh.
um and so but trying to to not, I don't know, worry myself sick and also now have that autonomy for myself, right? Like, I, it's kind of an irk of mine when like parents only identify as parents.
I know. Oh
Do you know what
God.
I mean?
Yes,
Like,
so much. Yes.
and then you see them like living through their kids instead of
Mhm.
letting their kids live.
Yes.
Um, that's kind of like I glitch out a little bit when I see that happening.
Oh yeah. My eye
Um,
twitches for sure. Gag
yeah,
me.
uh, yeah. So I don't know if
Solid.
that answers the question, but I don't know.
I don't know. It
It's
answered
it's an
something.
answer.
I'm here
Yeah.
for it. Yeah. I have one remaining question for both of you, and I'll answer this question too as we wrap up today. What do you hope your children remember the most about you as adults right now? Like if like or as, like what do you hope your children would remember about you the most?
That I'm
What do
the
you want to
funniest
be
person
known?
they'll ever meet.
The funniest
Just kidding.
person you'll ever meet. I love that. I love that. That's that's a good one. Karen, what about you?
And no matter what, that I just keep going.
Mm,
You know,
good.
not like in a bad way, but just keep no matter what. I just I kept I kept going forward.
Yeah. Right? Straight up.
Yeah.
And
I
for
think
me, go ahead, Crystal.
I was just gonna say on a serious note, I think for me it's like kind of the piggyback on that. I just thought of this as like your identity can change throughout life. You can have as many rebuilds as you want forever, you know? Like you don't have to be stuck in what
Yeah.
you're doing.
Oh, for sure. I think for me, for my kids, the only thing that if they take away nothing else for me and in my life and the way that I've lived it, whether I was right or wrong, was that everything that I've ever done, even if I was right or wrong, I did because I loved them and that I will always love them and they will be the reason why I do everything I do. They will be the driving force and that I will always be there for them no matter what. That is my highest hope, you know? But they always
Yeah.
remember that. I would do anything for them, anything. Um, but
Yeah.
yes, wow. Powerful conversation today, ladies. Powerful conversation. I am so grateful for you both and that we've had the time to talk about motherhood, right? These are conversations that remind us that there's no freaking perfect way to be a mom, right? A stepmother, a caregiver. We're all just like learning, growing, and healing and doing the best that we can with what we have. Right. And I think it's the beauty found not in perfection, but in like the willingness to keep showing up with love and accountability and being our authentic selves. Right. And being true to ourselves, even saying we don't have it all figured out. We're just doing our best. So to everybody listening, if today's conversation resonated with you, we encourage you to share this episode with someone who may need to hear it. But please be sure to subscribe, leave a review, or follow along for future conversations that empower, inspire, connect women through shared experiences. So until next time, remember that your story matters, your voice matters, and the impact that you make every day matters more than you'll ever know. All right. Thanks for sharing. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Ding ding.
Ding, ding.